Tonight, how new TTC safety data is impacting Toronto's mayoral by-election.
No one's going to get away with slogans or with, vague promises.
What you need to know about how candidates are reacting to new intel showing incidents on transit went down while officers briefly beefed up patrols. We'll break down the pledges as one high-profile candidate officially launches her campaign.
We're certainly, a little disturbed.
Plus, disturbed but determined to better protect faith communities after police allege hate struck at a mosque in Markham.
We are overly thrilled to be part of the Toronto Blue Jays.
And from family to fans, we'll show you how jacked up sports lovers are preparing to soak up the best time of the year to root for so many pro teams, and why this year is extra special for Toronto fans. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, some breaking news from one of our country's largest telecom companies. Rogers says it is bringing 5G connectivity services to Toronto's entire subway system. It'll include the ability to call 911. And this comes after months of criticism from politicians and pretty much everywhere that safety measures are needed on the TTC, which has seen a rise in violence. Rogers says it has entered into an agreement to acquire the Canadian operations of BAI Communications. That company has held the rights to build the TTC's wireless network since 2012. So that big news from Rogers comes on a night when transit safety is front and center in our city. The TTC is boasting about new data showing the number of violent incidents on the transit system is actually down. They're citing numbers from February that show a decrease in offenses from the month prior. In a moment, we'll show you how Toronto's top mayoral candidates are reacting to that new intel. But first tonight, Ryan Patrick Jones breaks down the data and why some are arguing it isn't enough to call the system safe.
Police officers arrive at Pape Station today, responding to a call for a man with a knife. When they arrive, they search an empty bus. No threats or injuries were reported. But it's one of dozens of safety incidents each month that's causing unease among transit riders.
I know it's not always safe, but when I go on the train, I'm aware of my surroundings. If I see anybody acting suspicious or doing something weird, keep my eye on them, go to the next side of the train, or just get off the train and wait for the next one.
While there has been an increase in violence in recent years, a new TTC report indicates the total number of offenses against riders decreased to 111 in February from 136 in January. That represents 2.15 incidents per 1 million boardings in February compared to 2.72 in January. Offenses against employees also dropped slightly from 103 to 99. Still, those numbers are higher than last year's when there were 1.43 incidents against riders per 1 million boardings in the first quarter.
I would think there is a link with the presence of police in the system, but I think that's a one short time fix. To have that kind of spike in the presence of armed presence in the system is one thing, but I think there needs to be an ongoing long-term sustainable solution, investing in transit, not just service, but investing in people with a presence.
Toronto Police assigned 80 officers to work overtime on the TTC in late January. It came after a series of violent cases, including stabbings, BB gun shootings, and an alleged swarming. The police deployment ended last month because at $1.5 million per month, the force couldn't afford it. Meanwhile, the TTC has reduced service on dozens of routes due to low ridership and budget restraints.
What we've seen over the past 3 years is that offenses against customers and safety became an issue the instant ridership disappeared due to COVID. And over the first 18 months or so, the TTC did strong work in improving that situation. But as soon as budget cuts arrived, then the offenses against customers started to go up again.
McLeod says the TTC needs to invest in more reliable service to get ridership back to pre-pandemic levels.
Safety comes from the community around us, and people are just missing right now. We need to bring people back into the system for that greater safety.
TTC CEO Rick Leary says safety is paramount to the TTC, and it will continue to work with the city, police, the union, and with employees and customers to improve safety. Ryan Patrick Jones, CBC News, Toronto.
So that's how the TTC and transit advocates reacted to the new information from the Transit Authority. But one person who is sure to have a big say in how the TTC moves forward is Toronto's next mayor. And several candidates have already released their plans on addressing transit safety. Tonight, former Deputy Mayor Anna Bailau pitched her ideas for bringing safety and reliability back to the TTC. Ardell Manukduk was at her campaign kickoff.
And now let's get the party started. I'm Anna Bailau, and I am running to be the next mayor of Toronto.
Former City Councillor Anna Bailau officially launched her campaign. Surrounded by elected officials, labor unions, and strong supporters, she harkened back to when she first came to Toronto as a 15-year-old, taking the TTC with her mother.
And one thing that I remember is that we felt safe. We felt safe in the subway. And that's not what I'm hearing from people out there today.
These voters think the issue will play a major role leading up to the June 26th election.
That's probably in at least top 3 right now, because I believe there's a lot of stabbings that's happening on the transit system.
It's very important, but I think it's more so about the larger issue around homelessness and helping those who are marginalized and also facing addiction.
To address transit safety, Bailau announced that as mayor, she would increase staff and security cameras across the network, bring cell service to the TTC, and reverse all transit cuts. Last month, the TTC reduced service on 39 routes.
One good thing is the candidates will hold each other to account for this. No one's going to get away with slogans or with, vague promises. People are going to want to know, how much is this going to cost? Where's the money going to come from?
When asked about the price tag of her transit safety plan, Bailau couldn't put an exact number on it.
We will have a fully funded plan. The program now currently costs $13.5 million, and we would like to expand it.
Councillor Chris Moyes, who is supporting Bailau and sits on the TTC board, would also like to see the cuts reversed.
Council is the one who decided to implement these cuts, and council can change its mind. So again, it is possible to do that.
Other notable candidates released plans last week, including current councillors Brad Bradford and Josh Matlow and Scarborough MPP Mitzi Hunter. Their plans overlap some and include a range of addressing mental health and the root causes of violent offenders to subway platform doors. One high-profile candidate, former police chief Mark Saunders, hasn't released a plan yet and called the policies of Bailau, Bradford, and Matlow radical. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
A Markham mosque continues to be the scene of fear and frustration tonight. Police have now arrested a suspect in an alleged hate-motivated incident from last week. But today, the Islamic Society of Markham urged for more to be done to combat Islamophobia before violence strikes. Ali Shiason spent the day with the community to find out more about what they're calling for.
There's a fear coming to the mosque, but this fear will not let us down. We will not be intimidated by this. And I see more crowd coming in after this incident.
Morning prayers at this Markham mosque were interrupted last Thursday by a man shouting Islamophobic slurs and ripping up the Quran.
He was also throwing out a lot of obscenities at the congregants against our faith, against Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and then eventually he left.
Once outside the mosque, it's alleged the man got into his car and attempted to run down people standing out front.
This is a community mosque. As you can see, it's surrounded by homes, and there's a lot of children who walk here, elderly who walk to the mosque. So we're certainly, a little disturbed.
Police have arrested 28-year-old Sharon Karunakaran. He allegedly harassed people at another mosque in Scarborough that same morning.
Sharon Karunakaran has been charged with uttering threats, assault with a weapon, as well as dangerous operation of a conveyance. That's in relation to specifically what occurred in the morning.
We do not believe this incident or individual is part of a larger group. We do not believe that this individual is associated to an extremist group. We do not believe that this incident is terror related.
Today at the Islamic Center of Markham, faith leaders called for action.
The time for action against Islamophobia is now.
From the province, they ask that it hurry up and adopt the Our London Family Act, which contains a number of changes designed to curb the kind of Islamophobia that played a role in the attack 2 years ago in London that killed a Muslim family. They also want the federal government to follow through on a promise and expedite the rollout of security funding for places of worship. The president of the Islamic Society of Markham, Kasir Nasser Khan, says it's unfair they continue to wait.
In the past, when we had young people break the glass of the mosque and urinate on our property, we responded with love and forgiveness. However, love requires justice. It requires peace. Our congregation and Muslims across the country have a reason to be concerned.
Investigators are looking into the suspect's online activity leading up to last week's events. So far, they say they haven't found anything that indicates any allegiance to an extremist group, but their investigation is ongoing and they are asking for more witnesses to come forward. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Markham.
In Toronto, a funeral was held today for the family of 4 Indian nationals who died in an attempt to cross the St. Lawrence River.
This was a family that was for each other always, and now it's from life to death. They're still with each other.
People who come and head of the family or whatever reason they decide to take this kind of path is absolutely unfortunate.
The husband and wife, along with their 2 children, all died during the failed attempt to cross the St. Lawrence late last month. It's believed they were trying to enter the U.S. from Canada at the time, and the family had been living in Toronto before the tragedy. A Romanian couple and their 2 Canadian-born children also died. All right, it is 12 degrees and clear skies tonight as we look live at the skyline. And the beautiful weather is set to last for at least a few days. Let's get to Colette Kennedy with a first look at weather. And Colette, what a beauty day today. Still not over it.
Oh, just some gorgeous conditions for us today, Chris. I mean, not a bad weekend, but really today with those temperatures really popping up there. Got to 20 degrees at Pearson, and often that doesn't happen until about mid-April, so maybe we're a few days ahead of the game there. A look at all the daytime highs, even the nation's capital at 19, Windsor around 18 degrees, lots of really comfortable numbers. And sunshine as well, of course. Now, a few minor changes in that we do have a weak trough kind of pushing through tonight into tomorrow. We're going to inherit a little extra cloud cover. Mostly that's just it, some cloud cover moving in. It's fair weather clouds, some higher thin cirrus, so you still have pretty bright skies that we'll be contending with. And it's not really till we get into Wednesday, slight chance for some isolated showers, and it's really more to the east of the GTA, but I'll go over that a little more detail coming up. Overnight, 7 degrees, that overnight low, and here we go again tomorrow, up to 20 degrees, of course, closer to the lakeshore and a few prone spots. It's a little cooler than that because of the direction of the winds off the lake. I'll also talk more about that coming up.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Colette. An update now to a story we first brought you over the weekend. Max the dog, he's captured the hearts of Torontonians, and tonight his family says they are heartbroken, but they are permanently releasing the dog into the care of the Toronto Humane Society. Max was left abandoned, along with a note from the owner that said they could no longer care for him because of financial troubles. The note said they lost their job and their apartment, ending the handwritten note by saying Max is a good boy. The Humane Society began looking for the owner, not to punish them, but rather help. It offers a program to foster animals for owners going through hardships, and they can then be reunited with the pet when they are ready. Humane Society officials managed to get in contact with Max's owners to make them aware of this program, but they decided he was better off with a new family. Now, on a bright note, the Humane Society says they have spoken with several people who say they want to adopt Max. Food insecurity is in the spotlight as this Easter long weekend wraps up. Food banks say they're at a breaking point. Demand is only growing, and they say many Canadians who were able to manage before the cost of living crisis are finding it tough now. Jamie Strachan has that story.
The food bank is a lifeline for so many Canadians, especially this Easter.
It's just heartbreaking. It's really emotionally heartbreaking because it feels like those in power are not doing anything about this.
Before the pandemic, about 60,000 clients per month visited the Daily Bread Food Network. That number has now ballooned to 270,000 visits, the most in the charity's 40-year history.
Sometimes there's stereotypes of individuals who need to come to a food bank. That's not the case anymore. The person who is at the food bank is sitting across from you in the cubicle.
And it's not just food banks feeling the pressure of soaring food costs. Ottawa's Meals on Wheels program, which delivers more than 100,000 meals every year to elderly and disabled clients, says it's had to charge those clients more because the cost of delivering hot meals more than tripled this month.
These people are phoning us and saying they can't afford to eat anymore. We're disappointed in the response of our funders that they're not taking inflation into account, and they're essentially dropping these clients at a time of great need.
In the recent federal budget, there was a grocery rebate for some low-income Canadians.
It's not designed to cover all of the costs. It's there to be an extra bit of support. And I can say that for the 11 million Canadians that receive it, it does make a difference.
But still no money for a long-promised national school lunch program.
Not only is it quite surprising because we are such a wealthy country, but actually because, a society that does not invest in their children is something to be concerned about.
Clearly, still gaps, leaving many Canadians worried about where their next meal will come from. Jamie Strachan.
Change-up miss. Tavares trying to catch up to that. He's been out a ton, but he's in after it to win it. Tavares with the game winner.
An overtime victory for our Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. That goal by captain John Tavares, enough for the Leafs to beat the Florida Panthers 2-1. Austin Matthews scored in regulation, and Toronto takes on Tampa Bay tomorrow night. They will also face off against the Lightning in the playoffs when they begin next week. So the Leafs are moving on to the playoffs, that we know. What we don't know yet is the future of the Raptors. They're going to the play-in tournament in hopes of making a playoff run. So all that is happening. And oh yeah, the Blue Jays are also back at home tomorrow. Greg Ross now on the Pro Sports Galore in Toronto.
All right, let's see what do one of these go for?
This woman made the trip to the Jays shop to get some jerseys in preparation for tomorrow's home open.
These are the authentic jersey stitched.
I hope you got the player's discount. She should be entitled to it, considering that the name on the back of that jersey is also her name.
I am the mom of Dalton.
Dalton Varsho, that is, the outfielder the Blue Jays traded for in the offseason.
We are overly thrilled to be part of the Toronto Blue Jays.
And she's looking forward to seeing the Blue Jays play their home opener tomorrow against the Detroit Tigers. But many fans in this city still have their sights set on other teams.
I think I'm most excited for the Raptors because I'm a big basketball fan.
The Raptors will compete in the NBA play-in tournament to try and earn a playoff spot. They host former Raptor star DeMar DeRozan and the Chicago Bulls Wednesday.
Hopefully can beat the Bulls.
Go big. This is an elimination game. If the Raptors lose, their season is over.
It's not exactly the playoffs, but, similar type of preparation, getting ready for, win or go home.
Things don't get serious for the Leafs until next week when the NHL playoffs begin.
Looking forward to the series against Tampa. Hopefully it's a different result than last year.
For the second straight year, the Leafs will host the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round of the playoffs. They lost last year in 7 games. In fact, it's been nearly 20 years since the last time the Leafs have won a playoff series, longer than many Leafs fans have been alive. How worried are you going into this playoff?
Very. It is hard to forget about the past, but we're trying to make a new path, a new history.
Playoff season means it is tailgate season for the Leafs and Raptors. Fans will be gathering here in the square outside Scotiabank Arena to watch those games on the big screen, and tickets are free. You can get them by downloading both the Leafs and Raptors apps. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
In international hockey tonight, Team Canada's women taking on bitter rivals, the USA, in Brampton, and it was a nail-biter.
Ontario, Jamie Lee Rattray looking to close this out. Rattray, backhand, the difference maker. It's Jamie Lee Rattray.
A shootout determining this one after 5 minutes of OT. Canada's Jamie Lee Rattray bagging the game winner after 9 rounds of the shootout. It seemed like Canada was going to win in regulation until the USA scored twice in the final 40 seconds of the third period. All right, popping back outside, and a beautiful, calm night across the region in terms of weather as we look live at our beautiful city tonight. Let's get back to Colette now. And Colette, a beautiful evening to get some fresh air out there.
Yes, some very comfortable readings, definitely above normal for this time of year. And the thing is, tomorrow is going to be, in terms of temperature, very similar to today. But I do want to illustrate what's happening here around the Great Lakes area, but stateside, getting over towards Wisconsin, parts of Illinois, we're talking some low 20s. And essentially that air, as this ridge of high pressure keeps sliding towards us and moving further east, that air is going to move our way. So what does that mean? Yes, it means our temperatures will be warming up a little more, even so after Tuesday. So do want to show you again, this is just this weak trough kind of coming through, bringing some extra cloud cover, partly cloudy skies really tonight. We'll have that extra cloud tomorrow through the day, but still generally the skies feel pretty bright because it's a higher level of cloud that we'll be seeing. But then later Tuesday into Wednesday, and this isn't a bad thing, it's really kind of as this warm front is sliding through, a few isolated showers are possible along that front. So more so to the east, perhaps eastern sections of the GTA could have a tiny sprinkle. I wouldn't anticipate more than that. Otherwise, this is a forecast where we're seeing dry conditions. Now, I mentioned earlier in the show about the temperature profile and how it could be a little different near the lakeshore, just about anywhere that can be the case, but especially where you get into a west-southwesterly flow. And we are going to have some breezy conditions tomorrow and then again into Wednesday. So a little cooler through the Niagara region, over towards Oshawa at times, just as those winds kind of pull in some of that cooler waters of the lakes where the temperature is closer to 4 or 5 degrees for that lake temperature. A little gusty at times tonight. These are easy to take with these overnight lows looking like this. And then for tomorrow again, 19 to 20, very similar to today. And there's that bump up as we go into Wednesday and Thursday and with sunshine. So some really terrific conditions coming our way.
Sounds lovely. Thanks, Colette. And we'll be right back. Finally, tonight we want to show you a classic Easter tradition for some lucky zoo animals. And it was a busy day for staff at this Croatian zoo. Easter eggs filled with some of their favorite food allowed predators and prey to take part in the traditional hunt. And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, everybody.